Hello everyone! Thank you so much for joining me today. For today's time-lapse, I am going to be creating a wintry portrait. So for the sketch, I started out with my Prismacolor colerase colored pencil. One thing that I'd like to mention is that if you look at this portrait right now, the proportions are a bit off. Her eye is a little bit too high up, and that is something that I do all the time. It's one of my biggest mistakes that I make and I need to be aware of, and I leave it for a little bit, and I was just kind of staring at this portrait like, what is wrong? Something is weird. And I finally figured it out, and so I moved the eye down just a little bit, and that fixed her proportions. What you can see me doing right now is filling in the flat color for her hair, and I am using a Copic sketch marker to do this. The color is V05, I believe. Hold on. No, the color is V06 Lavender, and I absolutely love this color. I only have a few sketch markers, and this is one of the colors. Most of the rest of them are just grays. Hopefully you noticed that I was moving the marker in the direction of the hair. So if there were any streaks that showed after I'm done, they will be flowing in the same direction that the hair would be flowing. So it's not going to look weird. Now you can see I'm finally changing that eye. Much better. The pen that I'm using here is a Sakura Pigma brush pen, and it is in black, and I really like these. The Pentel Pocket Brush Pen is great. That's the other brush pen that I use the most often, and I think that I'll probably be switching to this one probably more because I can get even smaller details, and that's just because the brush itself is quite a bit smaller. So I tend to work small, which I am working on, but I have to say I recommend this brush pen. It's really nice. So yeah. Okay, so back to this drawing. With the scarf, I wanted it to be like a thin, silky scarf, so you can see that I'm adding a lot of folds and wrinkles and stuff, and that helps to make it look like a thinner material. So the more folds you have, the thinner it is. I'm also going back and adding extra strands of hair with my Copic marker. Now, using the same colored pencil that I made the initial sketch with, I am doing some light shading in the areas where I want there to be blush. One nice thing about these colored pencils is that you can smudge them and make the shading a bit softer, and that will fill in a bit more of the white of the paper. So I was doing that here, and you'll see that I am going to be layering a lot with this red colerase pencil and also a black one. Now, using a size 03 micron pen, I am going to be adding lines to the hair. Whenever I'm doing this, I am sure to keep in mind that not all of the lines in the hair need to be going in the same direction. They need to have some parts where they're overlapping and going in different directions so that it looks more realistic and so that it has more interest. If it's all going in one direction, it just kind of looks like you put like a big piece of plastic on somebody's head, and that's kind of weird and not really the look that I'm going for here. So keeping that in mind, I am going to continue drawing the lines for the hair, and I will also be making sure to curve the lines in a way that you can tell that they're going around the head and they're not just straight or all going in the same type of curve. so you can see the shape of the head underneath there. It's really important. Also, with the direction that the hairs in the eyebrow are flowing, that is pretty important as well. Usually eyebrow hairs will start off going kind of vertically in the middle and then work their way down to pretty horizontal and like pointing downwards by the outward edge of the eye. Now what you can see that I am doing is adding more detail to the hair. The way that I like to draw hair right now is having a lot of small lines that indicate the direction that the hair is flowing, and then to either start out with some thicker lines or go back through, which is what I'll do in this piece, and add thicker lines at the end or towards the end. Moving on to adding shading. So this shading is done using the colerase pencils, like I mentioned before, and I am not putting any pressure on these pencils when I'm doing this shading, and I don't really want a lot of harsh shading on this piece, so wherever I do want darker areas, I'm going to do a few layers. You will also see me using a blending stump throughout the shading process, and that will just help smooth the shading and fill in those white areas of the paper without damaging the tooth. Okay, so when I am shading the hair, I like to move my pencil in the same direction that the hair is flowing. So that will just help. If any streakiness shows up, then it will be in the correct direction. It will just look like individual hairs. Using a white charcoal pencil, I am going to be adding highlights to the hair now. And I might have added a little bit too much in this piece this time, but lesson learned, hopefully. And so I am going to go over it one time and add a little bit of highlights, and then I'm going to go back over it again, and all the while I'm blending it with the blending stump so that it doesn't look gritty and is nice and smooth. For the darker shading in the eye, I used a Micron brush pen in blue. And for the whitest white highlights, I went to my handy dandy jelly roll pen, and that is from Sakura, and I'm just going to put them wherever I think that the brightest highlights should go. And I want to make sure to not just add like big blocks. I'll add them looking like little, like it's on individual strands of hair. Ooh, and here is where I made a mistake and added a highlight on the bottom of the upper lip where I really shouldn't have, and I am going to correct it right now, and you'll see. And it just looked really bad for a second. Also, I love this part. Watching the flat color go down is just so satisfying, and I love this color. It says green on the marker or pen or whatever, but it's technically a brush pen, but it's kind of tealish, so it's pretty. And once again, with this pen, I am making sure to keep my brush strokes going in the direction that the fabric would be flowing. So right now it's just going up and down in the same direction, and when it was going around the scarf, it was still flowing in the direction that the fabric was going, so no streaks would really show up. Now I'm back to that Copic sketch marker, and this I am going to use to add stripes. And when I'm doing these stripes, I want to make sure to have them move with the folds of the fabric. Now, I didn't do the best job on this particular piece with that, but it's always fun to emphasize the folds with stripes or another type of pattern. So I decided that she was way too pale, and I originally didn't want to use any watercolors. I just wanted to use my markers and pencils and gel pen, but yeah, I decided to go ahead and use my Winsor & Newton pan watercolors and just give her some color to her skin so she doesn't look like a ghost. Using the white charcoal pencil now, I'm going back and adding highlights to her skin, and I am also going and using my red and black pencils to add a few more layers here and there. Moving on to her scarf, I'm using the white charcoal pencil, and I am just going to put the white wherever I want highlights to be, and then I'm going to go back with my blending stump and smooth that out, and I'll do that I think 2 layers of that, and then I'll also use the black colored pencil to add my shadows. This piece was a bit of an experiment for me, using these colerase pencils to do most of the shading. I generally switch over to my polychromos when I'm going to be doing shading on the piece rather than just using the colored pencil for a sketch. But yeah, so I wanted to see how these would work, and they don't really become very vibrant or saturated, so you have to use lots of layers, and it just doesn't get very dark at all. So just a minute ago, I busted out my blue pencil and decided to add snowflakes for the background, and I put the basic shape down, and I just looked up some references on Google for snowflakes, because I know you can do just about anything, but when there's so many options, for me, I just blank. So yeah, I had to look up some references and found some pretty awesome ones, and yeah, so here I am drawing them out. And also, I wasn't really that worried about making them perfect, because these are some of the first snowflakes that I've drawn. I barely ever do it, so it was kind of, practice, and I was like, I know it's not going to be perfect anyways, so I was just going to go with it, and so most of them turned out a little bit wonky, and I guess I did learn my lesson on that part, and I should probably make sure they're planned out a bit better next time before I add the patterns. But anyways, this one is my favorite. I think this one is my favorite, or maybe the top right, the very first, or top left, the very first snowflake that I did might also be my favorite. Ooh, this one right here on the left, that one. And just I wanted to get a little closer. This is the same color that I used for her scarf and her eye color. I really was just trying to keep the palette limited to these 2 main colors. Using the black Sakura brush pen, I am going around the edges and adding a thicker outline, because I want her to really stand out from the rest of the paper and draw your attention really to her. And I like the graphic look that it gives when you add this thick outline. I couldn't think of the word. This thick outline around the main subject. Now erasing the sketch and any marks that are left on the paper, and finally going back with my fine liners. I am going to be using size 05 Pigma Micron fine liner to add some more dimension to the hair. And I mentioned this earlier when I was first adding the thinner lines, but these lines are going to be thicker, and they're going to really emphasize the shape and let you see where there's like chunks of hair that are overlapping each other. And I really like how this changes the hair and makes it really look more final and interesting. And the final step is adding highlights to the scarf. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video with me and getting a snippet into my artistic process. I really enjoyed sharing it with you. So thank you very much for joining me today. And if you would like to let me know that you enjoyed this video, then please go ahead and hit the thumbs up button down below. It's really nice knowing when you guys like it. And also, if you have anything that you would like to say to me, any comments, or any ideas for future videos, or any questions, anything, please go ahead and feel free to leave those comments down in the section below. I love hearing from you guys. Also, if you really like this video and if you know anyone that might also enjoy it, then please feel free to share it with them. Every time you guys share, it really helps me out. If you would like to see any other artwork from me, then you can head on over to Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, or even Twitter and follow me there. I have the same name everywhere, and it is Sarah McHale Art. So I hope to see you guys there. And if you would like to see any upcoming videos by me, then please feel free to hit the subscribe button either down below or head on over to my main channel page and hit the subscribe button there. Also, the subscribe button will be popping up in just a minute in the corner, so feel free to hit it there. And on that note, I hope that you all have a lovely holiday season and are able to spend quality time with your loved ones and just relax and have some fun and eat too much food probably and then work it off right afterwards. So be responsible, guys. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!